Welcome to the interview show. This is Scott Wood, your host, and today I'm lucky enough to have Eamon McGrath with me, and we are sitting right now in Victory Park in the heart of downtown Vancouver. Hi, Eamon. Welcome to the show.
How's it going?
I'm doing great. How are you today?
Good. Thanks for having me on.
Great. So can you tell me a little bit about your day?
Today, I woke up in a van on the way to Vancouver from Edmonton, and it was about a 15-hour drive I spontaneously decided to involve myself in just on a complete whim, because the day before we've been playing in out west for the past 2 weeks, and Riders, who runs White Whale Records and plays in the Mohawk Lodge, who's on tour with me right now, his car broke down outside of Golden, BC, so the band had to get towed a couple days ago to the door venue in Calgary. Sorry, and made it there probably like 5 minutes before the set, and we've been kind of stranded in Alberta. So after the show in Edmonton 2 nights ago, a friend of mine told me that he was actually driving a van to Vancouver to be sold, and he told me that I could kind of jump in the trunk. So I lucked out.
Someone should write one for the city lights. Avenues need drinks and elbow room. There's glass on the pavements, she's chained to the pipe. All your friends stop looking out for you. Someone's telling stories of the time before the war. Candles don't burn bright, wax is falling on the floor. There's stones in your pockets, you're walking to the river, and people just don't disappear that easily no more. I go walking on the dark end, on the dark end of the street. I started talking to an old friend on the dark end of the street. Oh, everybody here is someone's son or daughter. Their mother saw them running down the stairs, and an old song's ringing out. Hastings is laughing out loud. Maybe we'll get to heaven if there's anyone upstairs. I go walking on the dark end, on the dark end of the street. I started talking to an old friend on the dark end of the street, and I kept thinking that I missed you on the dark end of the street, and I started drinking, and then I kissed you on the dark end of the street.
Welcome to the interview show. This is Scott Wood, your host, and today I'm lucky enough to have Eamon McGrath with me, and we are sitting right now in Victory Park in the heart of downtown Vancouver. Hi, Eamon. Welcome to the show.
How's it going?
I'm doing great. How are you today?
Good. Thanks for having me on.
Peacemaker is the record, and the cover of the record, the sort of symbol of the album, is a male and female in coitus. So I was wondering if you could talk about Peacemaker as the title and the symbol and what all that means to your music and to you.
Well, first off, it's kind of the phallic idea of like a missile, and the idea of a missile causing an explosion that could decimate a city, and the paradox in the concept that through that act of violence or war, at some point when the smoke clears and the dust settles, there's this kind of calm that sort of envelops the place, and that's sort of a metaphor, I think, for the life of a rock and roll band. If you're on the road and you tour the way we tour, you book your own tours and you don't buy hotel rooms and you party every night and you meet women and you meet people in the bar and you go home with strangers and you change people's lives and they change yours and the next day you go off to the same to do the same thing in another city, and for them they go to work. And there's also the kind of destructive the inevitable kind of destructiveness in leading a life like that, because at certain points, if you do that enough, you're going to be battling, I think, some problems with alcohol or relationships or something. Like it's hard to maintain relationships with a life lived on the road, because there's a lot of problems. It's not easy to do when you're away from someone you love for 3 weeks at a time. And leading a life like that, you kind of got to go back every once in a while and sort of repair or redeem relationships that might have been failed or ruined by choices or decisions you made. And I think that's kind of where the title comes from. So it's Peacemaker. It's like a bomb, or like a missile. It's a rock and roll band. It's an explosion. It's an act of making love. It could be the conception of a child. It could be an allusion to the sound of the record, the heaviness of it, like the way we recorded it, and trying to make a record that sounds like a bomb. It's a record about doing whatever you need to do to make peace in the world, and I think that some people have the wrong, the outcome in their attempts to make peace is kind of they fail because they actually end up doing more harm than good.
I love the idea of a bomb going off, making peace, tied to the idea of a band going from town to town and changing people's lives. So can you talk a little bit about that in another city?
So for example, if I want to change the world, I'm not going to go and break windows or light police cars on fire, because it's cowardly, and it doesn't require any courage, because the fires just get put out and the windows get repaired the next day. And ultimately all you're doing is putting someone out of work. Those things are acts of just they're meaningless. If you want to change the world, have a child and raise it well, or start a rock and roll band and inspire somebody to play guitar instead of beat someone up. It's just, that's how easy it is, I think, to bring another human being to orgasm. It's simple, and I think that and that's the point of it all, is that it's people try and do too much, and they end up doing way little than they could if they just didn't think about it. And that's happened in lots of cities I've been in, where I've made connections with people in a very short amount of time that'll last forever. Hi, my name's Eamon McGrath. You're listening to The Interview Show.
Back in the days we were wrecking balls of love. Now we're like words on the sides of coffee cups. I know she loved me, but will she ever go back to that place she used to go to before it all faded to black? And I'm told that the sun goes gray into the west, and girls, they always look their best. Well, they had a dress to press, and I'm told we should go out tonight before the bars close. Put But on my Saturday night, you'll put on your best clothes, and I'll carry you out across our parted sea. Then at last call, I'll whisper my defeat. I'm told that lives get buried in the snow. Yeah, you're young, but one day you'll grow old. You'll never get warm out in the cold, I'm told.
Hi, my name's Eamon McGrath. You're listening to The Interview Show.
So you're only 22 and you've put out... Okay, he corrects me, okay.
I'm turning 22 in the fall.
Okay, so you're 22 and you put out just as many albums. You got into the game when you were like a teenager, and from the way you speak, it really speaks to the experience that you've had. So I was wondering if you could talk about being a guy who's 22 and has already been in the game that he's chosen for his life for like 8 years.
It's come very full circle, actually. Peacemaker was recorded and produced by Dave Carswell and John Collins of the Evaporators, and when I was 15, I think I was 15, I opened for them, and my first band opened for them at a place called Stars, and in Edmonton, like a punk venue, and when I met them, I mentioned that, and it's just, it goes to show how small Canada is as a country, and B, how devoted people are, how people who are devoted to punk rock will stay devoted to it. And I think that's just, I don't know. I think if I was 42, I'd be doing the same thing that I'm doing now. And ultimately, I don't really think about my age as anything other than anything I was born with, And I guess it's interesting. It's fun to talk about it now while it lasts, but I'll still be making records when I'm 60. So
let's hope that you still are making records. You've made some pretty good ones so far. You talked about starting in the punk realm, and you've moved into sort of like a country punk rock sort of thing. Most guys save that for a time later in their career. Like most guys who are 21, 22 are more than happy to be in a great punk band. Can you talk about your progression?
I think that, to be honest, I think that I kind of make the same music that I was making when I was 14, and I hope I am, because I think that when you're that young, you're more sensitive to being inspired, and you're more excited about the music you're making. I hope I'm making music that feels the same way that I hope I feel the same way when I'm making music that I felt when I first bought my guitar and turned on my amp to 10 in my basement, and I hope that I make music that makes people feel that way. I hope that I don't mind. I'm not afraid of a really like primitive feeling. That doesn't bother me. And to be honest, I think that country music or soul music or folk music that's really great evokes that feeling in people, regardless of the sound of it or how quiet it is. Or like Bruce Springsteen's Nebraska to me is the sound of New Day Rising by Husker Du, and it's, they're both equally inspirational, they're both equally heavy, and they're both equally intense in their own ways, and they both make me want to get up out of my chair, So if I was playing, I don't know if I do play anything other than punk rock. I think that even if I'm playing live and I've got an acoustic guitar, it's punk rock, And I think that Graham Parsons was punk rock because I I get excited when I hear his music, just like I get excited when I hear Black Flag, you know.
If I gave Peacemaker to somebody who didn't know you, didn't know your past, I don't think they'll necessarily see the punk in it. So can you take a song on the record and talk about where you see those roots?
Like Before You Got So Sad, for example, is a song that, for me, when I wrote that, it was on an acoustic guitar. Every song on that record was written on an acoustic guitar and recorded, demoed on an acoustic guitar and rearranged to be just louder. Before You Got So Sad was a song that was like I recorded like this really folky kind of quiet version of it, and then gradually as it went on with various bands, it became louder and heavier and more insane. And then by the time I got to the studio, it was like this, like it's like a Fugazi song, I think personally. It's like or a Rites of Spring song or something. Like it's a really like heavy song about like an emotional kind of thing. It's like a punk rock song about breaking up, not about, like anarchy or something like that. Hi, my name is Eamon McGrath. You're listening to The Interview Show. name's Eamon McGrath. You're listening to The Interview Show.
You credit your dad with getting you into music in a lot of interviews that you've done. So I was wondering if you could talk about a time when your dad took you to a questionable gig when you were a teenager.
Yeah, well, fuck. I mean, when I was 9, he took me to Green Day, I think was the show, and yeah, everything. Like I was 9, and everything that Billy Joe Armstrong said was fucking cunt and piss, you know. I think it was just hilarious. And then the drummer played with a broken leg and lit his drum set on fire, and they smashed everything and swore some more and walked off stage. And I'm not saying that Green Day is good. I'm just saying that, like, for a 9-year-old kid to see all that stuff, you know, supported by your parents was pretty liberating. And I think that I think I'm really lucky because I feel like because it was my dad, not like some dumbass 9-year-old kid taking me to that show. I think that I really knew what I really wanted to rebel against. I think that my parents were cooler than I was, so like. And in some ways still am. So, I mean, my dad saw the Clash and the Ramones, and I will never see the Clash and the Ramones. So, I mean, it speaks volumes about what, about where to aim your target. And yeah, and so for me, it was like I'm more pissed off at FM radio rock than I am at my mom and dad. And to be honest with you, they're just as pissed off about FM radio rock.
I was asking actually for a time when your dad drove you to a gig you were performing at.
Oh, performing at. Well, I don't know. I was in a noise band called Red Medicine, and my parents came to see me play, and I think I strangled myself with a microphone cord and chugged 2 liters of wine in front of them when I was 17 or something. That was pretty cool. I don't know.
How did they approach that kind of lifestyle at that age?
Well, they were. I think they. To be honest, they just kind of criticized the show. They were just like, I think musically you can do more interesting things, was all they said, which is fair and probably very true. I don't think they really, my parents have never really looked at it as anything other than, they don't treat me as anything other than an artist when I'm performing or when I'm recording or anything. They've never been patronizing, and they never were, and yeah, for that I know that, they're honest about it. They thought that I've never been told that I was better than I was or whatever by them. They were really honest with me, and if I sounded like ass, they said it, and if it sounded good, they told me, and they never whenever I played a show that was involved like breaking glass or something like that, it was never about the harm I would do to myself. It was more about the harm I was doing to my art, and I really respect them for that, because it was that's exactly what I'd want from anybody else that ever came to a show. I don't think that your parents come to your show to lick your butt, more than anyone else would. They're there and they're in the audience and they're watching it, and they deserve to be given the best that you've got, just like anyone else. Hi, my name is Eamon McGrath. You're listening to The Interview Show.
Not an old man, but he's had all his fear. Pinpoints and eyes, quoting drunks like Shakespeare. Remove all the stage lights, and what do you have? The band has no smokes, 'cause you smoked the whole pack. Another night of not getting paid. Shots of whiskey, there ain't no champagne. What do you have to celebrate? Please get me out of this state. Please get me out of the States. He looks like a scarecrow, 'cause he's kicked his whole past. Quit smoking and drinking, and quit his punk band. He can't quit forgetting what it was that he had. He ran for the hills once the bars became bad. Another night of not getting paid. Shots of whiskey, there ain't no champagne. What do you have to celebrate? Please get me out of this state. Please get me out of the state. I won't forget what you and I have done together. And if I don't see you, I'll love you forever.
Hi, my name's Eamon McGrath. You're listening to The Interview Show.
So, in a lot of press for this record, you've been talking about, and critics have been talking about, this album being like a redemption song. So, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think that it is. I think that a lot of people that I mean, it was sort of maybe a selfish kind of, album or whatever, because it was, I'd heard a lot of relationships with some people that I really cared about, and this record is kind of like an apology to them, and maybe, an attempt to show them that I was actually trying to, I don't know, make it better. And, especially even in the past year, like since I've been home, a lot of those people have come up to me, and we've actually been able to kind of like, see on some level, like stand on some level ground again, and it's good. So it worked, I think that I did repair some. I mean, if you're an asshole to people, if you're really self-destructive and you're hurting people, and the relationship you had with them is never going to be what it was. But everyone's human and they can only do their best, and to be able to sit down and talk to people, that hated my guts for a while there is kind of nice. So.
Cool. Can you take one track off the record and talk a little bit about it as I bring up the music?
Yeah, I'm the Deer was a song, like I said earlier, was written like on an acoustic guitar, and it was about decapitating a deer in Michigan. Great.
Thanks for being on the show.
Oh, yeah, thanks for having me. Sorry about the, it's a long story, but Scott and I have been trying to do this interview for about 3 weeks, and I screwed up every time, and so any listeners here should probably commend his patience.
And they should also commend your honesty with the answers.
Hi, my name's Eamon McGrath. You're listening to The Interview Show.